Welcome to another episode of Jim's Allotment Garden. Okay, so I'm going to start to look at the framework for the trees and the bushes which are going to go up here. So first thing I'm going to do is actually extend the poles up by 2 foot, or sort of 24 inches or 61 centimetres. So basically the poles are going to end up sort of around 6 foot high, just short of 6 foot. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut 4 pieces of this steel, which is the same shape as this. I'm going to weld it on to the top there, upright, so I'll show you me doing that now. So the steel that I'm using for this, these are some basically glazing bars for roof, so if you imagine the glass would sit there and there. And this was a conservatory that I took down a few years back, which used to be on the back of my house, which is no longer there, it's been replaced. So this is some recycled steel, and basically what I'm going to do is with the angle grinder I'm going to just cut through, take off the sort of the rough end if you like, and then I'm going to be measuring 24-inch sections going down and just cutting that straight, and then I'll be drilling some holes through, which is where the cables are going to fit. Okay, so those are the 4 pieces that are going to go in, and what I've done is I've just measured down 1.5 inches and 13 inches. What I'm going to do now is drill a 10mm hole through here, obviously starting small with something like a 5mm and then working my way up to 10mm on all of them. I had enough to do 4 pieces, but I just welded in a piece on the end there, just to, rather than cutting into another length of it, I've just kind of used the bits that I got lying about. But I've basically now ended up with 4 identical pieces. Just so you can see, I've not done it on that one, but if you look at the end here, what I've done is this is the part that's going to be welded onto the existing part, and what I've done is I've just put a bevel around the edge there, and I'm going to weld into that bevel so that when it's all welded I can sand it all down flush with the with the edge, so you can't tell where the 2 pieces are welded together. Okay, so there's the metalwork prepared. I've drilled the 2 holes out and countersunk down, and I've wire brushed all the metal down on all 4, and I've just ground off all of the sort of paint and stuff off the back. So now they're ready to weld on and paint when they're welded on. Okay, so I'm now going to weld the bits onto the top of the 4 posts going along, and I'll need to trim the length accordingly as I go along. So, but what I'm going to do to start with is just to clean off all the paint and put a bevel on the edge here, so that when I weld these pieces on, I've got a bevel to weld against. Okay, so there's the top. As you can see, there's a bevel on the front edge and on the back edge, and obviously when the 2 pieces of metal come together, they're not exactly the same, but they're close enough. You'll see that there's like a sort of gap in there to weld into. Now I've done this on all the tops. Obviously this one's sticking up slightly, so what I'll be doing is cutting a little bit off the end of the one that goes on there. And again, these 2 here are various lengths. height, so to say. So I'll be cutting a little bit off the part that I weld on anyway, so the weld will be slightly further up. So there's obviously those two mating pieces. So it'll fit kind of like that when it's done. So I'll just show you the easiest way of lining up two pieces of metal to weld them together. Okay, so to align the metal, what I've done is I've just got a bit of 2-inch angle line here, and I've mould grip 2 places at the bottom there, and then aligned the top onto it, so that's going to basically keep it all straight this way and also this way. Obviously this metal is slightly different, it's slightly wider, so it's going to stand out slightly there, but as you can see it's all level that way and it's all level that way, so I'm ready to weld. So I've got the ground on at the top there, so I'll be grounding off the top piece. The welder I'll be setting reasonably high, so I've got the wire down at 4, power on maximum at 3, and lots of gas because it's a little bit windy, and as you can see there's a bit of a gap between the two, which is done deliberately, because what I want to do is weld into the gap there, so I'll get really good penetration and a strong weld. Okay, so there you go. It's not the prettiest bit of welding I've ever done, that's for sure, but it's welded on, and I can assure you that's literally going nowhere. That's I can most say, because the reason why I want this to be really strong is obviously I'm going to be putting steel cables through here along all the way to the end, and this needs to be as strong as possible, obviously, because that will put strain on this weld here. And what I didn't want to do was put a sort of piece in here. I just wanted it to be a straight bar, but I'm happy that as soon as that's ground off, that'll be fine. So just to support the end one here, which was rocking slightly, what I've done is I've welded a piece of steel under the ground to this post here, so it's all a lot more solid now. That's not moving at all. So there are the 4 posts in place. I've just ground off the bottom, and I'll give it a coat of primer. So what I'm now going to do is paint the whole thing with black exterior glass. And there we are, all painted up, so now it's ready for the steel cables to go in, so I'll do that next. Okay, so moving on to the cable. Now the cable's going to be going kind of from this hole here all the way along to the end, so basically I'm going to run a cable from length to length, and I'm going to be using some of this stainless steel sort of 6mm cable, which is quite tough, so I'm going to use the angle grinder to cut through it. And what I'm going to be doing is welding on a piece of studding about 15 centimetres long on the end there, and basically what I'll do is with the nut on this side tighten the cable up and pull it through, and then I'll just cut off any excess studding which is on the left. So what I'll first do is cut the cable to length, so it's the same length as this, and then it needs to be short by about sort of 20 centimetres or so, which is probably, I don't know, about 7 or 8 inches short, so that I've got some thread at both sides to pull it all taut when it's coming through. So all will become apparent when I show you the next part, but what I'm going to first do is just run this along the length to get a measurement of how long it needs to be, and then I'll just cut it off with the angle grinder here to the right length. So I've then got the cables to run through here, and I'll also be running one through here, and if I've got enough I'll also run one through the bottom. Okay, so I've cut the 4 cables, and the 4 cables basically is going to be one at the top, one just below, then we're going to have a bar, and then I've just drilled a hole all the way through, as you can see, for the middle one, which is exactly halfway between these two, and I've drilled one along the bottom as well, so I'll have one cable running through here, here, and then 2 at the top. Right, so what we've got here is the we've got a bit of studding there which is 15 centimetres long, and what I've done is I've drilled down the centre of the studding, as you can see, and basically what's going to happen is the cable's going to slot down inside like that, and then what I'm going to do is weld, I'm basically going to cut a hole in the side there and weld through the side onto the cable to weld the cable inside the studding, and then that's going to fit through the hole on the framework up the allotment, and I'll just run a nut down there, and as I run the nut further down it's obviously going to pull the cable taut along the side. So I'll weld these on to the end, and I'll show you when I've done that. Okay, so as you can see, the cable's now going through, and what I've done is cut a slot across the side of it. So what I'm going to do now is weld into that slot across the cable with a really nice hot weld. So basically weld all of that cable inside this piece of studding. Okay, so there you can see the weld on the end. So I've basically cut a groove in, and if you're going to do this yourself, what I recommend you do is your weld is on pretty high with lots of gas. As I say, cut the groove as I showed, and then put the welder tip right in the hole. And what you want to do is, as you're actually welding it in, with your other hand push the cable in to the studding. And what that will do is, as the cable gets hot inside the studding, it'll actually melt the cable. Now that is absolutely, sort of rock solid in there, and that most certainly will hold a couple of 3 trees up. Okay, so that's the finished framework. As you can see, the cable's now run from here, nice and taut, all the way across 4 times. So you can see we've got the 2 metal sort of cross pieces at the bottom, and then we've got a cable there, cable here, cable there, and then basically as it goes through the framework, as you can see, it passes through the holes that we made in there and also in here, right the way through. So it's 1 piece of cable, and then at the other end, what I've done is I've left the full length of the studding on at this end, so I can always adjust it, tighten it up or whatever, and I've left kind of an inch of thread at both ends, so I can adjust the cables here. But as you can see, they're nice and taut. That'd be more than tight enough to support the trees. And then on this side, what I've done is I've basically tightened it all through here, and then what I've done is I've just cut off the excess there so nobody catches themselves on it. And as you can see, the top one's the shortest. That one's a little bit longer, but obviously that's sort of nice and taut, nice and strong, almost like guitar strings, to be honest with you. And this is exactly the same technique that I used in the greenhouse, if you remember, to weld those in. So that's the framework finished for the trees. So all there is to do now is to prepare the ground, the 3 holes for the trees, and obviously for the bushes as well. And I'll be putting in some compost and stuff, and then planting the trees in to the ground, and then using this framework to perform the pleaching on the trees. So this will eventually be completely covered in trees. Okay, so with the grapevine, as you can see, it's sending out quite a few sort of shoots on the side. So what I want to do is obviously make the grapevine sort of focus on sending all of the energy up to the top. So what I'm going to be doing is trimming off these branches. So basically what I'm going to do is leave on 2 leaves, and then with a sharp pair of scissors, not with secateurs, I think they're not sharp enough to undo that. I'm just going to be sort of chopping off the branches like that, because what I don't want it to do is, obviously it's trying to create a sort of kind of bush shape at the moment. So I'm just taking off all of these shoots. Now this will most certainly not help with if you're wanting it to fruit this year. This really isn't the right thing to be doing, but I want this to focus on sort of growing around the greenhouse this year. So I'm just going to take off, I'm just leaving 1, then 2 leaf like that, and taking it off from there. So there's another one. Take that off before it grows any further. Again there, 1, 2 leaves, and take it off. Now you will see on the shoots that you are getting the startings of some grapes. I don't know if you can see them there, but they're actually the startings of the grapes there. So if you're wanting your bush to develop some grapes this year, then what you can do is leave those on. But obviously I'm trying to get this to sort of grow around the greenhouse this year, so I'm going to be taking off, as I say, leave 2 leaves and then cut the branch off, and then it'll get the vine to focus on growing around the greenhouse. So there you go. Just a quickie with show you with the camera in my hand. So basically I've left 2 leaves on every branch and then cut off the leader. And then what this will do is it'll send all of the energy up. Actually, there's one there I've missed. Look, there's always one you miss. Just chop it off. Obviously, remove any bits that you've sort of cut off, and then all of the energy now will go up the chutes. I've left 1 leader on here. I don't know if you can see, that's where it starts there. So that's going to be the sort of the second sort of shoot, and that'll carry on running up. I've cut all of these back to 2, and I've just left the end one there as the leader, and that's the one that'll grow up and along, and obviously this one here. So I'm going to have 2 shoots off that plant to grow up. Now this one on this side, as you can see, it's starting to grow. That looks like the last sort of cordon there, if you like. But all of these here, I'll do exactly the same thing, slightly later, obviously because they're slightly behind this one for some reason. But I've also noticed that on the outside it's starting to grow. I don't know if you can see that down there. So obviously I'll knock them off altogether outside. So if you do want if you have grown the grapevine up and you want to get some grapes this year, this is the branch that comes off, and what you need to do is leave this bit on, and then you've got, as you can see here, that's going to form into the bunch of grapes there. So what you need to do is just after that little bunch of grapes, chop that off like that. So basically what you've got is 4 leaves, and then you'll have the little bunch of grapes there. And I would suggest that on a plant, you know, that's sort of 3 or 4 years old, you only leave probably about well, no more than 10 of these on. Otherwise, they're not, they're not going to form properly, and you'll end up with no grapes. You'll end up with lots of little sort of undeveloped black grapes, if you like, or you're not black, or not properly formed. So really, I would suggest the second year you don't have any on at all. The third year you could potentially have sort of 2 or 3, or up to half a dozen, depends on how well the plant's growing. And then after that, you need to be cutting off only leaving every 3rd one of these on. So you end up with, I don't know, about sort of 10 bunches of grapes, and that'll form into a really nice bunch of grapes. So don't leave them all on. You most certainly need to cut off maybe half, if not 2/3 of them, so they form properly in Britain. So that's what you need to be doing with your grapevine this time of year. Okay, so I'm just putting the swede in, and as you know, this year we've grown them in the tray, and basically they're about due to go out. And I've got 2. I'm going to put these in 2 rows here, and as you can see from the little pluglets that we've got there, they're ready to go out. So I'm going to be planting them. The rows are a foot apart, and I'm going to be planting them something like 9 or so inches apart, and I'm putting them in the ground so reasonably firmly, not too firmly. I want them to sort of establish their roots in the ground. And rather than planting them in a zigzag formation, I'm actually going to put them next to each other. The reason I'm doing this is so when I'm weeding, I can sort of tell where they are basically. So as I say, 9 inches apart. I think that's going to be more than enough room for them to grow. And I think growing them in these little modules has really sort of paid off, to be honest, because I think the germination rate is considerably better. And also as well, I think whilst you're you don't need to worry about thinning them out or anything like that. You can basically just put them straight in the ground like that. And as I say, I'm putting 2 rows in because these are a good sort of vegetable to have in the kitchen. They're a good all-rounder really. There's a whole raft of ways you can actually use these in the kitchen. I mean, you can do everything from sort of boiling them to mashing them to sort of chopping them up, and you can make stews and all that kind of stuff with them. And they are really a good sort of versatile vegetable, and they're also really hardy as well. You can put them out this time of year, and even if we have a frost, that's not really going to sort of damage or anything like that, so you know you've got no worries about that. This ground's been rotivated, so you know the soil's really nice and fine, you know, so we don't have any air pockets. But what I'm going to be doing as soon as these have all gone in, what I'm going to do is give them a really good watering in, and over the next couple of days just keep my eye on them, make sure that they're you know, they're okay and nothing's untoward's happened. Keep them nice and watered, and I'm also going to put some slug pellets on them as well, because the slugs tend to like to go for these when they're young and tender. Okay, so just do a really quick tour of the allotment. So there's the grapevine. That's all been trimmed down, and apart from the top one, and there's the top one from here as well. So that'll be hopefully growing up. This one's just sort of coming out now. That's the grapevines. The calendulas are done really well, and I really do need to get those out. Those are the salad leaf. Some of the corns have come up, but they're not. These ones here, I've had nothing out of there so far. The purple sprouting broccoli is doing alright, so that'll need pricking out very shortly. There's some more calendulas at the back, and that's the kale, the Nero kale, so that needs to be most certainly pricked out. Strawberries at the back there, there's a couple coming on there. No sign of any of the peas yet, but there's time yet. The sunflowers, as you can see, are coming up, so I keep kind of pulling off the seeds to help them along a bit, but they're coming on really well. The peas that I saved the seed from are kind of doing okay, but nowhere near as well as the others. But over here, there, the tomatoes. Those are the moneymaker tomatoes. They're coming on really well. These are all of the gourds. The true leaves are just coming through now, as you can see on some of them. There's a few that haven't come through yet, but there's time yet. Those are the curly kale, so they'll need to be pricked out very shortly. And some more Nero kale, which I'll be pricking out as well. Cherry tomatoes, loads of them have come up now, as you can see. Those are the seed I saved from last year. The parsnip seeds I've just got under here in the shade, and some more there. And they're not chitting quite as well as I thought they would. But I think they're close. They seem to be coming on. There's one little sweet corn there coming on. Nothing, no sign of the parsnips yet in the parsnip propagator, but the Alicante tomatoes have come through. They're going to need to be potted up shortly. And there's some more moneymaker at the back there, some more Alicante at the back. So almost certainly have plenty of them for the greenhouse. So that's pretty much the greenhouse, apart from the beans. I've had some weird occurrences, like I've got roots sticking out, so I've actually ended up turning some of them round, to be honest with you. I've not had that before, but there's one that I need to turn around as well. Like the roots sticking out, but no sign of the stalk. But the beans are doing alright, so they're a little bit early. Really you should be putting them in probably in about a week's so time, but I like to put some early ones in, and then I'll sort of put them out. If they get nobbled by the frost, then they get nobbled by the frost. This is starting to flow, which is quite unusual. This is the I'll put the name across the bottom. This is the stuff that I'm using for the fertiliser for the tomatoes, comfrey, and it's unusual for it to flower this early. But obviously I'm going to take all these flowers off. What I might need to do is, because the last thing I want is this to seed, because it will go everywhere. But it's quite unusual for it to flower when it's this sort of height. It's normally sort of 4 foot high or so when it's flowering, but it's possibly because it's been moved. The mint and everything's coming on. They're the hydrangeas. I think the ones that have got that scaly bug on look like they've died on me, but I've still got 3 good ones, so it's not too bad. They're the herbs, I don't know if you can see them under the glass. Just pull the glass up. Look, they're settling in quite nicely. I think the glass has sort of protected them from the cool weather that we've had in the evenings. Rosemary's just coming into flower, if you can see that. I've not done much here, I need to get this bit sorted out. The chiards are doing really well. This comfrey here, again there seems to be like little flower heads. If you can see that bit there, look. There seems to be a flower head forming there. So I just need to keep my eye on that, make sure. The asparagus, as you can see, there's a spike here. We've had some asparagus today, that's been really nice. I've left that bit there to grow up. Basically, to be honest with you, I wasn't quick enough to pick it, but that's gone too far now to eat, so I'll just leave that to grow. This is the framework that I've been working on. I may or may not show you the video for this week, but what I'll do is I'll put it all together and show you me making all of this. It may come out this week or it may come out next week, I don't know, depends on how things go on. Spinach is starting to run to seed because we've had a bit of rain, so what I've done is I've gone along and I've pulled out any sort of flower shoots that are coming out of the middle, so that should hold it back a little bit, but this is most certainly going to go over in the next few weeks. So I've now got 12 rows of potatoes in. What I've done is I've dug all this bit over here and put another 3 rows there. So I'll just put something else in there. I wanted to get the potatoes in because we were running a little bit late with the potatoes. Because of the weather that we've had, the spinach has lasted a bit longer this year. So I've got 5 rows there, and I've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows here. So that's the potatoes. I think I should have enough potatoes. The onions, this half that went in first, as you can see, are starting to come up. There's one there, look. So they're starting to show, the onions along this side. This side went in a little bit late, they were about a week behind, but there is the odd one showing, I think, there at the other end. The onions that I've put in here, which were from seed, even though I've watered them a few times, seem to have failed, so I'll just put something else in there, I think, if I don't see anything from there. The peas are going to be going in here shortly, so I'll be digging a trench in there to you know, like a pea trench along here to put the peas in. So that's one of my next jobs. The calabrese, or the green broccoli, as you can see, is now in the ground. I've done a little video of putting this in, so I'm not sure if this will be in this episode or one of the others this week, but the calabrese is now in the ground, so that's all been dug over and put in. I've also put, one thing I didn't show on the video is I've put some slug pellets around them, because I didn't want any slugs to obviously have a nibble of them whilst they're establishing themselves. So the first tunnel has got something in, so that's all good. It's all coming along with the tunnel. These are the swede. The swede have gone in today. I've also done a little video on these as well. I've put some slug pellets on them as well, just in case. The parsnips, what I've done is I've taken off the plastic because I thought they were getting a bit cooked, to be honest with you, and I've given them a bit of water this evening just to help them along a bit. I don't normally water the parsnips, but I've given them a bit of water because I thought it was getting a bit dry and dusty up here for them, so I've just given them just a can of water just to help them along. So that's the swede and the parsnip. I'll be putting another row of parsnip in there, which is the chitted seed, and I'll also be putting a few bits and bobs in here as well. Parsnip sort of experimentation, if you like. Look at the rhubarb. The rhubarb's doing well. In here, obviously this is the bit that I'm forcing. Just put the bricks here out of the way. I'll just show you the top. As you can see, that's the rhubarb drawing. I don't know if you can see particularly well, but the shoots have become long, very tender, and sort of very pink in colour, which is exactly what you want for sort of puddings and that. If you can see this one here, look, that's a nice pink long stem there. So what I'll do is I'll force that a little bit longer. I've just noted a slug there actually. The slugs do like it in these bins. But that's the rhubarb forcing, and there's nothing else to show you this week. That's just the front. I've not put anything in there yet. So that's the tour for this week. So, thank you for watching this episode of Jim's Allotment Garden. Thank you for all of your comments and all of your questions and your feedback, and thank you to all of the subscribers. I do appreciate your support with the channel, and I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Allotment Garden.